In the first lecture on interaction of electromagnetic wave with matter on microscopic scale, we have seen some of the basic fundamentals of this chapter. We have defined a scattering, or what is a scattering, and also seen the concept of differential scattering cross section and the total scattering cross section. And as I have told you that in any scattering problem, actually the quantity which we measure and which characterize that scattering process are actually the differential scattering cross section and total scattering cross section. So now we are going to discuss a particular scattering, which is actually a scattering of electromagnetic wave with free charge. And such a scattering is actually called Thomson scattering. So in this problem 2, we will actually find the expression for the differential scattering cross section and the total scattering cross section. And after that, we will characterize this Thomson scattering. So remember, this is a scattering by free charge. When you say free charge, it means no force is acting on this charge apart from the electromagnetic force. So this is called a scattering by free charge. Now let us consider that a plane polarized electromagnetic wave. First of all, I would like to convince you that this problem will be actually dealt in two parts. First of all, we will consider that our electromagnetic wave is plane polarized. You know what is a plane polarized wave. In fact, in a plane polarized wave, actually the electric field vector oscillates in a particular direction, in one and only one direction, not in all possible directions. Let us say, you can say that the electric field vector in this EM wave is oscillating either in x direction or in y direction or in z direction. Then you say that the wave is plane polarized. And in case of non-polarized or unpolarized wave, actually this field vector oscillates almost in all possible directions. So we will divide our lecture on this Thomson scattering in two parts. First of all, in this first lecture, we will consider only the scattering of a plane polarized wave by a free charge, and after that, in second part of this lecture, we will consider the scattering due to a scattering of the unpolarized electromagnetic wave by the free charge. So now let us consider, you can see this figure. I have considered that a plane electromagnetic wave which is traveling in this z direction is incident on a particle whose charge is q, you can see here, and we assume that its mass is m. And the electric field vector of this electromagnetic wave is actually oscillating in x direction. I have assumed it. So you can say that this is a plane polarized wave. And due to the interaction of the field vectors, that is electric field vector and the magnetic field vector, this charge q is actually set up into motion, as you have learned in the previous lecture, on an introductory lecture, you can say. And due to that motion, the particle actually acquires a non-relativistic motion. And when you say non-relativistic motion, it means the velocity which will be imparted into this particle by the wave will be much smaller than the velocity of light in free space. Then you say that the motion is non-relativistic. So if we consider that the motion imparted to this charged particle by the electric and magnetic field vector of the wave is non-relativistic, then actually a Lorentz force due to the field vectors will act on this particle, And what will be that Lorentz force? You know it well. So you can see this is the expression for the Lorentz force experienced by the charge Q. Here the velocity v, you know, this velocity is actually imparted into the particle due to the interaction with the wave. And as I have told you that we assume that this velocity is non-relativistic, and when you say it is non-relativistic, it means this v is much smaller than c, where c is actually a speed of electromagnetic wave in free space. Now you have studied in the previous lectures on plane electromagnetic wave that these magnetic field vectors vector and the electric field vector is related by this relation. B is equal to n hat cross E over C, where n hat is actually a unit vector, and E is electric field vector, and C is a speed of electromagnetic wave in free space. So if B is related to E by this relation, we can change the expression for the Lorentz force in terms of this expression. So we will simply replace the vector B in the expression of Lorentz force by this expression, that is B equal to n hat cross E over C. So let us make the use of this expression in the Lorentz force expression. You can see we will simply replace this B by n hat cross E over C. So after replacing it, what will be the expression for Lorentz force? You can see F equal to Q times E plus V over C n cross E. You can see it. Now, as we have assumed that this V is much smaller than C, so definitely the second term inside this square bracket will be much smaller than the first term, that is this E. And so as the second term is much smaller than the first term, so we can neglect the second term in this expression in accordance with our assumption. So finally we get that the force acting on our charged particle is simply electric force, and this is F equal to Q times E. So you can say that only the action of the electric field on the charge need to be considered. There is no need to consider the force exerted by the magnetic field, because that is negligible in comparison to this electric force. So now in our discussion we will consider that the net force acting on our charged particle due to this interaction with electromagnetic wave is only electric force, and that electric force is given by Q times E. Now since the motion is non-relativistic, so if you want to write the equation of motion of this very particle, you must think about the Newtonian equation of motion, because you know Newtonian equation of motion is valid in case of non-relativistic motion. So this is a very simple idea which we actually learnt in the very lower classes, and so you can write the equation of motion in this form: F equal to ma. You know m is mass of the particle and a is its acceleration, and you know acceleration is nothing, it is simply the time derivative of velocity. So a in this equation may be replaced by dv by dt. And you know how this velocity v is defined? Velocity v is simply the time derivative of position vector. So instead of v you may write dr by dt, and so finally our equation of motion will become F equal to m d2r dt square. You know it. You can directly write this equation F equal to m d2r dt square. There is no need to follow the intermediate steps. You can directly write F equal to m d2r by dt square. Now you have seen that this F is equal to QE. So instead of this F we will now write QE. So QE is equal to m d2r over dt square. And so you can see d2r dt square will be equal to q over me. So this is our equation of motion. Now you know the plane, when you say plane electromagnetic wave, then in this electric field vector is actually varying sinusoidally, or it may be expressed as in terms of an exponential function, or a combination of sine and cos function. So in case of in a plane wave, you know, you have studied it in your previous classes, that E is equal to E naught E raised to the power I k dot r minus omega t. You know, here actually this E naught is actually the amplitude of this electric field vector, or you can say this is simply the E max. It is maximum value of the electric field vector. And what is this k? You know, this k is wave vector. You call it wave vector, or it is also known as propagation constant, or the angular wave number. And what is this omega? You know it better. This omega is nothing, this is simply the frequency of our wave, or you may call it cyclic frequency. Cyclic frequency of the electromagnetic wave. So if in case of plane wave E is defined by this equation, so we can replace the term E in our equation of motion by this expression. So see, your equation of motion, which is defined here in this equation 1, this E will be now replaced by this expression E naught e to the power I k dot r minus omega t. So I have replaced that E, and after replacing you get this equation 2. You can see. Now in accordance with our assumption that this k vector, that is the wave vector, is along the z direction, because you have assumed that our wave is traveling in z direction. So this wave vector will be in z direction, and you know the unit vector in z direction we consider k hat. So actually this wave vector k may be written as modulus of k, which I have written here only k, and the unit vector in its direction, and its direction is since z direction, so we have taken the unit vector k hat. And you have also seen that the electric field vector is vibrating or oscillating in x direction, and the unit vector of x direction we denote by the symbol I hat. So this E naught vector will be equal to E naught I hat. Now in our equation there is a term k dot r. So let us evaluate it first of all. What will be this k dot r? You know, k is k times k hat, and r is the position vector. So if we consider that the space coordinates or position coordinate of that point where the charge is located is x, y, z, then you know this r will be equal to xi plus yj plus zk. Now let us take the scalar product. You know, k hat dot I is 0, so first term will be 0. Again k dot j, this is also 0, so second term will be also 0. But k hat dot k hat, this is 1, and so we will get simply k times z. Remaining two terms will vanish. So instead of k dot r, now we can write simply kz. Now as r is equal to xi plus yj plus zk, so you can write this d2r dt square like this: d2x dt square I plus d2y dt square j plus d2z dt square k. And in RHS you can see that this E naught vector is along x-axis, so I have expressed it like E naught I hat. So that I had been written here after this square bracket. So you can see that in RHS the term will be q naught E over m e to the power I kz minus omega t I. Now you know, when two vectors are equal, then definitely the corresponding components of vectors are equal. It means what? It means the x component of the vector in LHS must be equal to the x component of the vector in RHS. So you can see what is the x component of vector in LHS. This is simply d2x dt square, and in RHS this is the whole term inside this square bracket, because this term inside the square bracket have been multiplied by I, and the coefficient of I is simply x component. So d2x by dt square will be simply equal to this term inside this square bracket. But you can see in RHS there is no term containing j and k unit vectors. So it means this d2y dt square and d2z dt square will be simply equal to 0. So now equate the x, y and z component of LHS and RHS, and after that we will get actually a scalar equation, and this is d2x dt square equal to q e naught over m e raised to the power I kz minus omega t. And this d2y dt square and d2z dt square will be 0. So this is not of our interest. The equation which will be of our interest is only this equation 3. Now you can see this is just a second order differential equation, and so to get its solution, when you say its solution, that means x. So to get the value of x or the solution of this equation, what you will do? You have definitely done a course on differential equation in your mathematics classes. So you have seen if it is a second order differential equation, so to get its solution we will simply integrate it 2 times. I have actually not followed those steps here. This is for your homework. You can do it. It is a very simple integration. And one thing you must remember, since integration will be in fact indefinite, so there will be an integration constant. But remember, since our function is sinusoidal, so definitely the integration constant will be finally 0. So I have not used here any integration constant. So after 2 times integration with respect to t, you will get this result, which is actually the solution of this differential equation defined in equation 3. This is x equal to minus q into e naught over m times e raised to the power I kz minus omega t. This is its solution. You can see here. Actually, you can see since x is also sinusoidally varying, and x is actually the position coordinate of our charge, it means our charge is sinusoidally varying. It is in sinusoidal motion. And when a charge actually is in periodic motion, then, or you can say in an oscillatory motion, then actually that point charge behaves like just an oscillatory dipole. So you can say, since the charge q is oscillating, charge q is oscillating. How you can say that it is oscillating? Because x is of oscillatory nature and x is the position of charge, so we can say that this charge is oscillating and oscillating. So it is just an oscillating dipole, and do you know what will be the dipole moment of such a dipole? If you want to calculate the dipole moment of an oscillating dipole, we simply multiply the charge to the value of its position, that is x. So you can say the dipole moment of this oscillating charge. Because it behaves like an oscillating dipole, and this dipole moment, if we denote this dipole moment by the conventional symbol P, this is defined as Q times X. So let us put the value of X which we have obtained in this equation 4, and after putting that you will get the dipole moment of this oscillating dipole. So P will be what? When we will multiply the RHS of this equation 4 by X, then you can see that this will be minus Q square E naught over M e raised to the power I kz minus omega t. And you can write it in this way. This is minus P naught e to the power I kz minus omega t. Kz minus omega. Say this is equation 5. Actually, you can see I have written here P naught instead of what? Instead of Q square E naught over M. So this P naught is, you can say, where P naught is equal to what? This is Q square E naught over M. This is the value of P naught. Now, one thing you should remember here, that an oscillating dipole actually radiates energy. You know, an oscillating charge radiates energy, and so this oscillating dipole will radiate energy. And what is the amount of average energy that is radiated per second per unit area in a direction normal to the direction of propagation of the wave? That is given by a formula. Actually, this formula is direct. I will write it directly here. So definitely you should remember this formula to discuss this theory. Although the proof of this formula is also studied in electrodynamics, but here we have to write it directly and you must remember it. So you can say the average energy radiated per second, or you may say that average power, because energy radiated per second is power. So average energy radiated per second per unit area, in a normal direction, by an oscillating dipole is given by, this is a very important formula, and as I have told you, to discuss this theory you must remember it. So as this is energy radiated per second per unit area, so you can say this is simply the Pointing vector of the scattered radiation. Pointing vector of the scatter, because from the definition of Pointing vector you can say that this is nothing, this is simply the magnitude of the Pointing vector of the scattered radiation. So we denote it by the symbol SSR. And what is this expression? I am directly writing it directly, and you must remember it. This is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught. In SI unit, we write this factor. If you will use the CGS unit, there is no need to write this factor. And omega 4 P naught square over 8 pi C cube 8 pi C cube R square times sine square theta. What is this theta? You can see this figure. Actually, this figure I have also discussed in the first lecture. This is the angle theta. Actually, when the wave is incident on this particle, it get scattered in a direction phi. This is angle of scattering, and this theta is actually the angle made by the scattered direction to the direction of oscillation of electric field vector, that is x direction. So this angle is theta in that expression. So what is theta? You have seen in that figure, and this is the famous formula for the energy radiated per second per unit area by an oscillating dipole. Now we have defined the value of P naught here. So let us substitute the value of P naught in this equation. So you may write this is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught omega 4 P. We have to substitute the value of P naught now. So what will be at the place of P naught? You can see this will be Q square E naught over M square, because there is P naught square, and over 8 pi C cube times R square. This is R square, and sine square theta. Now let us simplify it, and after simplification you can see what will be our result. This SSR will be equal to 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught, and you can see this will be P naught is not this much. In fact, I have written this expression wrongly here. There should be in this solution m omega square. There should be m omega square. So here will be omega square, and here will be also omega square. So this will be m omega square. So you can see now this omega square will be, when squared, that will be omega 4, and that omega 4 and this omega 4 will cancel out, and your result will be Q4 E naught square over 8 pi, and there is m here, so there will be m square, and C cube R square times sine square theta. And say what will be this equation number? This is equation 5. This is equation 6. 5 was before. So this is the expression for the magnitude of the Poynting vector of the scattered radiation or scattered wave. in a particular direction, you can say theta. And now in case of actually a plane wave, what will be the magnitude of the Poynting vector of incident wave? Because our final aim is to calculate the differential scattering cross section, and you know in the expression of differential scattering cross section we have actually the magnitude of Poynting vector of incident wave, because you have seen in the first lecture on this chapter what is the expression for differential scattering cross section. So let us now first of all write the expression for the differential scattering cross section. So what will be differential scattering cross section in this case when our wave is plane polarized? Differential scattering cross section. Scattering cross section. We have seen in the introductory lecture on this chapter that this differential scattering cross section is denoted by the symbol d sigma by d omega, and we have defined this quantity like this: SSR r square over SIR. I hope you may remember this formula, because we have already discussed this formula in the first lecture. And in this equation you can say what is this SIR? You know, this is actually the magnitude of Poynting vector of the incident wave, or you may simply call it energy flux density of the incident wave or intensity of the incident wave. So we have already calculated this SSR. So if our wish is to find this differential scattering cross section, we must find the value of SIR. So now we will actually calculate the value of SIR to calculate the value of differential scattering cross section. And we have already studied in very detail the Poynting vector in previous lectures. So I hope you can remember all those results. So you have seen for a plane wave, what is this SIR? First of all, I am writing it its instantaneous value, and you have seen this is just the basic definition of Poynting vector, that this is simply E cross H. But we have already discussed in the discussion of Poynting vector what is its average value. In fact, in case of sinusoidal field vectors, here the field vectors E and H both are sinusoidal, you have seen the average value of this SIR is what? We have already discussed in the previous lecture. So I will write that expression directly here, and hope you will recall all these formula which we have already studied. So the average value, in fact this equation gives the instantaneous value, and the average value of SIR is given by, we have seen I am writing its average value by the symbol SIR. Actually it is written like this, but this is just equivalent to SIR because we have used this symbol in our definition of a differential scattering cross section. But this SIR represents the average value, and you have seen this is simply equal to ERMS times HRMS. Can you recall it? Definitely you should recall, because you have studied it in very detail in the previous lectures. And you know, in case of sinusoidal field vectors, this E RMS is equal to what? This is E naught over root 2, that is peak value of the field vector divided by root 2. And H RMS is what? This is H naught over root 2. So you may say that this is equal to 1 over 2 E naught H naught. Again, you have seen in the previous lecture how this E naught and H naught are related. Actually, this H naught is equal to C times epsilon naught into E naught. We have seen all these relations in the previous lectures. So now we will replace this H naught here by this expression, so that the Poynting vector of the incident wave will be in terms of electric field vector only, because our expression for SSR, you can see this contains E naught. So our aim is to find the SIR also only in terms of E naught. So for that purpose, we will replace this E naught by this expression. So after replacing this, what will be SIR, you can easily see. So you can see here, therefore SIR, this will be equal to what? 1 over 2 E naught times H naught, and H naught is this much, so put this value, C times epsilon naught times E naught. So you can see this SIR is equal to 1 over 2 C epsilon naught times E naught square. So you can see this is equation 8. Now we have already defined SSR in this equation, you can see here, and now we have defined SIR in this equation. So now we will simply substitute the value of SSR and SIR in this defining equation of differential scattering cross section. So we will make the use of equation 6 and that of equation 8 in this equation 7. So what will be our result? You can see. So using equation 6 and 8 in 7, we get what we will get. You can easily see the differential scattering cross section d sigma by d omega will be what? I am again writing that formula here for your convenience. That formula is SSR times R square over SIR. Now we will substitute the value. You have seen that this SSR is what? 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught. Let us see that formula, because that formula is not very simple. So this is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught cube 4 E naught square over this much times sin square theta. So see this, and now I am going to directly put this value here. So this is 1 over 4 pi epsilon naught cube 4 E naught square sin square theta over 8 pi m square c cube times possibly r square. Yes, this is r square. This is actually the value of SSR, and times r square. See here, this is r square, and divided by SIR. So this will be 1 over SIR, and 1 over SIR, this will be actually equal to 2 divided by FC times epsilon naught into E naught square. See here, this is the expression for SIR. So you can see this r square and this r square will cancel out, and what will be the expression for this differential scattering cross section? D sigma by d omega. Now we will actually write this expression in RHS in a particular fashion. You can see here, you may write it q square over 4 pi epsilon naught mc square whole square. You may check it, times sine square theta. You may check it. When you will actually square it, you will get this term, and so our result can be written as d sigma by d omega equal to what? D sigma by d omega. Here you can see, if you want to see the simplification, this E naught square will also cancel out. E naught square will also cancel out. So in numerator there is only Q4. So I have written here Q square, and whole square means that will be Q4. And this 2 will cancel this. Here will be 4. So there will be 16 pi square. So 4 pi square means 16 pi square. There is m square here, and so we have taken m, and there will be c cube times c, that will be c4. So I have taken here c square, and after squaring that will become c4. So you can see, you may write this expression like this. Now see this bracketed term. For a given charged particle, you know the mass and charge of the particle are fixed. So in the term inside this square bracket is actually a universal constant. We denote this constant by the symbol r naught. So this can be written as r naught square sine square theta. Sine square theta. This is the expression for the differential scattering cross section. Now what is this r naught? R naught, you can see r naught has been written at the place of q square over 4 pi epsilon naught mc square. Actually this is the classical radius of the particle which you have assumed. If you assume that this is the particle under consideration is an electron, then we say this is simply the classical radius of electron. Why the word classical? Because in quantum mechanics, electron is not treated just like a particle with definite radius. It is treated like a wave. So when you define the radius, it means you are talking about the classical concept. So this is known as classical radius of electron or charged particle. Classical radius of electron. I am writing specifically electron because if you consider that our charged particle which is free is electron, then we say it is classical radius of electron. Here this q will then represent the charge of electron. Now you can see the figure which I have actually made in the first page, and you can see from here that according to this figure, if this angle is phi, which is actually called a scattering angle, angle of a scattering, so this theta will be equal to what? If you want to express this theta in terms of phi, we will simply subtract this phi from 90 degree, because this angle is 90, so 90 minus phi will be equal to theta. So you can see from this figure. So our angle theta can be changed in terms of phi from that relation you can see. So now that theta is equal to pi by 2 minus phi, and therefore what will be sine square theta? This will be sine square pi by 2 minus phi, and this is simply cos square phi. So in terms of a scattering angle phi, we can write that expression for the differential scattering cross section, that d sigma by d omega is equal to r naught square cos square phi. Cos square phi. You may write this equation in a convenient form: 1 over r naught square d sigma by d omega, and this is simply equal to cos square phi. Actually, this is the important result for the differential scattering cross section. But remember, this result has been obtained by considering that our electromagnetic wave is plane polarized, not unpolarized. This is the case of plane polarized electromagnetic wave. In that condition, this will be the expression for differential scattering cross section: plane polarized wave. And as I have told you earlier, that our aim in this present lecture is only to consider the plane polarized wave, but in the second part of this lecture we will consider the unpolarized wave, and then again we will find the expression for this differential scattering cross section. So in this lecture I am not going to discuss this result, because after getting the result for differential scattering cross section in case of unpolarized wave, we will discuss the whole result, all results you can say. So I end my lecture of today at this point, and in second lecture we will again see, we will start from this very equation A2 and change this equation when the wave will be unpolarized.